We're back talking SEC football here on Southeastern 14. I'm Chase Robinson. We're going to dive into the LSU Tigers today. Matt Moscona will join us talking Tiger football. But first, let's remind you about Baton, your number one source for all of your summer sports this season. From MLB to golf to NBA to NHL, all the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. You can get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. So head over to their website or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet online where the game starts. So, Matt, here we go. And get ready for the 2024 LSU Tiger season. Spring is wrapped up. A lot to learn about this team, but I want to start on defense, kind of where the team struggled last year. I mean, offensively, great numbers. You had the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback in Jaden Daniels, but defense was a struggle. What's going to change? What needs to change this year for the Tiger defense?
Everything. To say it's a struggle is actually putting it as being really kind, Chase. That was literally the worst defense in LSU football history last year, which is a mouthful because a lot of people know that LSU has built a lot of its success over the last 2 decades on being elite defensively. Offense kind of was always the struggle for LSU, especially during the Les Miles era. So it's a weird juxtaposition that we're in right now with this program, that they're exceptional offensively and can't stop anybody. So they changed a lot, and a lot needed to change. They blew out the entire defensive staff. They brought in Blake Baker from Missouri to be the defensive coordinator, who had been at LSU. Brian Kelly didn't retain him when he was hired, and that was brought him back 2 years later. Corey Raymond, who's, everybody knows LSU is DBU. Well, Corey Raymond was kind of the godfather of DBU. Another guy Brian Kelly didn't retain when he was hired, has now brought him back. They brought in Bo Davis from Texas, an LSU alum, as the defensive line coach, one of the most elite defensive line coaches in the country. They needed an overhaul on staff, and they got it. The other part of it, and this might even be more important, Chase, is, well, what about personnel? And that I don't think is a one-year fix. We could talk about some of the players. They still got Harold Perkins, who's special at by any measure. But they've got holes at every level of that defense and questions at every level of that defense. I think the perspective here is we're assuming the offense is going to be really good again. Can the defense just not literally be the worst ever? I'm not saying you have to be top 20. Could you be top 60? Even still, then, you're probably a 10-2 team in the college football playoff. So that's kind of the outlook here defensively. It's realistically, people aren't expecting this to be an elite unit. Just don't be awful.
And you said, this is not just a one-year fix. Their approach of trying to fix it, was it let's get 1 or 2 guys in each position who we think can improve it instead of just trying to do a complete overhaul of personnel? How did they approach that?
Well, Brian Kelly's philosophy, and I know everyone sort of approaches it a little differently in the portal NIL era, right? They still want to build through the high school ranks and then supplement in the transfer portal. Kelly's first couple of years here, their numbers were so low that they had to go heavy in the portal. First year, they were in the 20s. Second year, they were in the high teens. This year, they're in the single digits in the portal, which I think is more what he wants to do. They added some players at defensive tackle. Gio Paez is a Wisconsin transfer, a 6th-year kid they're pretty excited about. They just added JVR Suggs from Grand Valley State. Another guy that they're pretty excited about, who might be a rotational piece on that defensive line. I just look at it and I think when you look ahead to 25 and 26, the recruiting classes they're building are pretty special. And you got a lot of talent from the state of Louisiana that people are really excited about. But getting those kids to campus, and then once they're here, retaining them is going to be the long-term determiner of success on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, look, the number 1 player in the country for 2026 is a defensive lineman from New Orleans. And LSU has deep ties on its staff to the high school ranks in New Orleans, including recruiting coordinator Frank Wilson. So the cavalry's on the way, but I think the way they're approaching it, Chase, is they're not trying to do the 1-year Band-Aid fix by throwing a bunch of NIL money at it in the portal. LSU's got a healthy collective. They've got money to spend. I just don't think they're looking to overspend and erode culture with maybe you'll remember this would happen at A&M a couple of years ago with that number 1 recruiting class. I mean, half that class was gone after a year, and I think that really eroded the culture. And I think that's what Brian Kelly's trying to protect against. So it's measured, and I think he's willing to be patient to build it.
Moving over to the offensive side of the ball again, last year, an incredible year offensively with Jaden Daniels. He's gone. Garrett Nussmeier kind of has been waiting his turn and now gets the opportunity. What's been the biggest talk about Nussmeier coming out of the spring?
Boy, he looks the part. Everybody knows Garrett by now. Son of a coach, was a high 4-star when he came here, originally from the Lake Charles area. Loves LSU and stayed. He's an outlier, man. I mean, highly regarded guys, especially at that position, don't sit for 3 years and wait their turn. He did. And I think it's going to be to his benefit. Early in his career, the knock on Garrett was you could see the arm talent. He had the football IQ, son of a coach, all that stuff. But, man, he was careless with the football. If anybody's interested, go back a couple of years and look at a game that LSU played against Southern University, and Garrett got some mop-up duty, and he threw a pick 6 in that game, which is as ugly a pick 6 as you will ever see in your life. Like back to the line of scrimmage, just flinging the football in the air, and it gets plucked and returned. We saw some of that in fall camp last year as well from Garrett. This spring, he looked like a completely different guy, poised, in complete control. I think, man, I think that would be one of the more surprising storylines in the conference this year if Garrett Nussmeier wasn't one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league. I think everyone looks at Beck and Ewers probably at the top of the mix, and Jackson Dart might be next, but I think Garrett could absolutely push to be in that top 3 best quarterbacks in the league. It would be, and he's got the supporting cast around him, which we could talk about, but he looks ready, man. He looks ready to be the guy, the next great one at LSU.
And yeah, that supporting cast around him, that's an important part when you have a good quarterback staff, guys around him. Who are some of these guys that maybe have shown out in the spring or that LSU fans can be expecting to see a lot of this fall?
Yeah, the one name that everyone's going to get to know if you don't already is Kyron Lacey. So Kyron transferred in a couple of years ago from UL Lafayette, and he was just in a log jam behind 2 guys that were first-round picks. He was behind Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., who were both awesome. And this spring, Kyron took over. But it's weird, Chase. Brian Kelly actually gives us a lot of access. Like, we get to go watch scrimmages and full practices at times. And there was a sequence where they were 11-on-11, ones-on-ones, full scrimmage. And Kyron made 4 consecutive plays, all in different positions. A shallow cross, a quick out, a deep ball where he high-pointed a ball 30 yards downfield. The defenders fell down. He ran it to about the 10-yard line. I mean, he's ready. In a program that has never struggled to produce receivers, from Odell and Jarvis to Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson to Malik and Brian Thomas, and even before then, he's poised to be the next great one. I mean, I could run through a lot of receivers, but you got to understand, man, they've got a 5-star from a year ago in Shelton Sampson, who at best right now is fighting to be the 6th guy on this team. Like, they've got receivers, they've got talent, and all of that doesn't even stack up to how good they are on the offensive line. They returned 4 or 5 starters. If you're looking at any of the way too early mock drafts for next year, Will Campbell, LSU's left tackle, is in everybody's top 5. Like, he is projected to be the Joe Alt of next year, that first offensive line taken. Emory Jones at right tackle. I mean, look, this Chase, it is the complete 180 of the defense, where the defense has questions at every level, has uncertainty, has doubters, has turnover. The offense has position battles and stars and studs and experience. And like, the offense, here's a weird way to say it. I don't mean to ramble, but this LSU offense lost the Heisman winner, 2 first-round receivers, and their offensive coordinator, which was a Broyles finalist, and nobody's expecting them to miss a beat. which sounds insane, but they probably shouldn't miss a beat.
Yeah. Well, it will be certainly fun to see coming up this fall what the LSU Tigers have going down in Baton Rouge. Matt, really appreciate you coming on talking some LSU football today. We'll have to do it again soon, but thanks so much for your time.
Chase, it's my pleasure. Thanks, man.
We got you covered, all things SEC here on Southeastern 14.